Hey guys, I'm up early this morning. I'm gonna make a chicken and wild rice casserole, but I have already, you're gonna use chicken breast for this casserole. I've already rinsed my chicken off, washed it, salted and peppered it, and I normally will bake my chicken in the oven because it comes out a lot more tender for my casseroles and things like that. But I have a tendency to also to boil chicken, and so I'm going to show you all a way to boil your chicken where it still comes out moist and tender, not like, you know, tough or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this chicken added to this water. And I didn't salt and pepper the other side. I normally do when I'm baking my chicken, but since I'm gonna boil it, all the seasoning is gonna be in the water. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that there. And then to that, we're gonna add the chicken base. I think I've talked about this before. It gives your chicken a depth of flavor that you just can't quite find with chicken broth. Normally I would boil, if I were to boil chicken, I would boil it in chicken broth, but I now use chicken base. So it's just a lot. It's just, like I said, gives a depth of flavor. So I'm gonna put like a heaping spoonful of that in the water as well. And you can prep your chicken for casseroles like this all the time. I do it for my chicken tetrazzini this way, the chicken and wild rice. And then I'm gonna add some celery. I freeze my celery back because I use it, celery, onion, and bell pepper a lot. So I'm gonna add that to it. And we're not gonna put this in the chicken and wild rice casserole. This is just gonna be used as our base to flavor the chicken. So I'm gonna have my celery in bigger chunks so it's easier to strain off when the chicken is done and I'm ready to add the chicken to my wild rice. But you'll see what I mean. It'll all come together. And I mean, it smells so good when you're cooking it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that added. And I freeze my onion back too, but I have some fresh onion that I'm gonna add to this that I need to go ahead and get rid of. And I do add my onion to my chicken and wild rice casserole. You can if you want to, you don't have to. You can strain it off with the celery if you'd like to as well. And I'm gonna add, I have some frozen bell pepper I'm gonna add as well, and I will strain that bell pepper off. I don't want that in the casserole. I just want to add it for flavoring for the chicken as our base for this dish. Okay, and like I said, it's cheaper to buy your vegetables fresh and then freeze them. You know, go ahead and cut them up and everything, and then put them in the freezer. Then buying packaged diced bell pepper, but you do what you know, diced green peppers and onions, but you do what you want to do. It may be more time consuming for some than to just go out and grab a bag of peppers and onions and just add it. So, but this is the way I do it. Okay. All right, so I've got that added, and we're just gonna let it boil here for a little while, a couple hours, maybe not that long, but we'll see, maybe an hour or so. I'm gonna put the lid on this, and I'll bring you all back when I'm ready to assemble the wild rice and the chicken and everything. Okay, so I'll be back. Okay, so I brought y'all back just to show you the progress. So now it's boiling, so I'm gonna turn it down just to let it simmer. It's the chicken. It's only been, I think it's been on here for about maybe 20-30 minutes so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it down some so it can simmer, and it smells so good. It smells good. But I'm gonna turn it down, and then I will bring you all back once the chicken is done. Okay, I just want to show you all what it looks like during the cooking process. Okay. All right, so the chicken is done, and y'all, it smells like dressing in here. It smells like your stock for your dressing. That's how good it smells. So, but it's done, and I'm gonna get the celery out of the out of here, and the bell peppers, because I don't want that in the wild rice casserole. And I'm going to get the chicken out as well. And then I'm going to cook my wild rice in this same broth. So that way all the flavors stay together. So once I get all this stuff out and the chicken and everything, I'll bring y'all back on. But I just wanted to let you all see. And look at that. Look how tender that is. Look at that. It's going to be so good. And this casserole, this wild rice casserole, it is amazing to take to potlucks and all that kind of stuff. It really is universally good. It does ask for, you can put mushrooms in it. My kids don't like mushrooms, so I don't ever add it. But you can saute some mushrooms in some butter and then add it into the casserole. Once the rice is cooked and the sour cream and everything, once you've got it in your casserole dish, you can add the mushrooms, the sauteed mushrooms to the casserole. I just personally do not, because my kids don't like mushrooms. But I will show you that step in the process as well. Once I get to the point where you would want to add your mushrooms, I'll be sure to remind you all that that's the point when you need to go ahead and add your sauteed mushrooms. Okay, so I'll bring you all back once I get all the celery and bell pepper strained out. I've got the celery and bell pepper strained out already. You can see it's just onion in here. And so I'm going to bring this broth up to a boil. And I'm actually going to get a bigger spoon to get some of this broth out of the pot, because the rice does not require the amount of broth that's in this, that's already in the in here. So I'm just going to get some of that off of there. I'm going to go ahead and turn my eye up to high. And the wild rice that I'm going to use is just Uncle Ben's wild rice. You can either get the original or the fast cook. I think one of them, if I'm not mistaken, I think either the fast cook has like little almonds or something. And I can't remember which one it is, but anyway, it doesn't matter which one, or your preferred wild rice, box of wild rice. I prefer Uncle Ben's, but you can use whatever you like. Okay, so I'm just spoon this broth over onto the chicken, and this is about 2.5 cups of broth right here, which is what you're going to need to cook your rice in. So I'm going to bring that to a boil. I'll go grab the box of rice. Okay, and so this is what this is what I use, and it's already starting to boil, and so I'm going to get ready to add this rice to it. And then while this is boiling, I'm going to shred my chicken up in a casserole dish, and so it can already be ready when the rice is done. And then when the rice is done and you combine that chicken and stuff together, then we will place the casserole in the oven. Okay. And on the box, it says that this needs to cook for, I don't ever pay attention, 20 to 25 minutes or so. I've made this rice so much, I pretty much know when it's I can look at it and tell when it's ready. So I've added that rice, and this is the seasoning packet for it. And I'm going to go ahead and add that as well. And I normally will put a little bit of water in here, and just to get the rest of the seasoning out. Just to make sure I've got every bit of seasoning. Okay. And I'm going to give that a stir, and then I'm going to put the lid on this and allow it to cook, and then I will bring you all back on. I'm going to grab a casserole dish, spray it with some Pam or nonstick spray, and then shred the chicken in that casserole dish. Okay, so I will be back once I'm at that point to show you what it looks like. Okay, so I've got my casserole dish here. I'm going to go ahead and spray it. And I'm going to add my chicken to the casserole dish. And then I'm just gonna shred the chicken in the casserole dish. I'm gonna reserve this broth for just a sec, for a little bit to see how my rice does, and I may add some more broth to it, but we'll see. I don't wanna have too much broth because it'll result in your casserole, your rice, and everything being taking a long time in the oven to bake, and also just being kind of soupy and mushy, and so you don't, it's not good that way. But I'm gonna put a little bit of broth. I'm gonna pour a little bit on top of this chicken. Let me grab a little paper towel to set that on. Okay. And my rice is over there boiling and cooking, and so it's looking good. And if you see, the chicken just falls apart, and it smells so good. It's got a nice flavor. And I am gonna taste the chicken too, just to make sure it's seasoned, got enough seasoning for me. Stick that over there. There's a little bit of fat there. Okay, so that's how I shred my chicken. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm also, when I'm shredding it, I'm also checking for gristle. Sometimes there's a little bit of gristle on the boneless, skinless chicken breasts that you get from the grocery store. So I check for that too, and go ahead and get that little gristle out and little pieces of fat off, or what have you. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish shredding the chicken, and I'll bring you all back after I get done with that. Okay, so the rice is ready. I hope that you can see it here. It's got a little bit of liquid in it, but that's fine because it's gonna bake off in the oven. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this rice added to the chicken. And like I said, I've got the chicken all shredded up. Okay, so I've got that added. And then I'm gonna add some sour cream. And at this point, while that rice was cooking, if you wanted mushrooms added to this dish, you could be cooking your mushrooms, washing them and all of that, and then melting some butter in a skillet and sauteing your mushrooms in the butter. You could do that while your rice is cooking, if that's what you would prefer, if you want to add mushrooms. You could also add your sour cream as well to the mushrooms when you're sauteing those in the butter. You could do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned off, and you would go ahead, once you add your if you do the mushroom part, you would add your mushrooms at this point as well, and then add some more sour cream to the wild rice dish. But since I'm not using mushrooms, I'm just gonna go ahead and get my sour cream and get it added. And like I said, I've reserved that chicken broth to add to the casserole as well. Okay, so I've got my sour cream. And I will probably use the majority of this sour cream at 16 ounces. I'll probably end up using the majority of it and mixing it in, but we'll just see. I just tend to eyeball it and decide how much I'm gonna use. My kids like to have some sour cream left over to put on top of their wild rice casserole when they're eating it. So I try to reserve some for them. Okay, but that's about how much is left, and I think I'm gonna add just a little bit more. So that's how much is still in there. And let me go ahead and add some broth as well. Okay, and I may end up adding the rest of that broth, I'll just see. And again, back to the mushrooms, if you want to saute your mushrooms in butter and some of your broth, you can do that too. I mean, I just thought about that. That would be excellent and give your mushrooms some excellent flavor. And then add that into your casserole dish. Kind of meld all those flavors together. Okay. So I've got that combined. And so then you're gonna stick this in the oven for at 350 degrees. I've already have my oven on, preheated, and you're gonna put it in there for about, I would start off at about 15-20 minutes, especially if your casserole has this kind of consistency. Then it's not going to take it long for that oven to get it, you know, combined and baked and everything together. If it had more liquid in here, then I would probably turn it up higher, like on 375, to cook some of the liquid off. Because sometimes I've made it like when my at the time when my husband was working and he may have to be at work or what have you, and I'm running behind cooking dinner, I would make it real fast and stick it in the oven at like 375 just to hurry up and make sure, that it was ready for him for when he had to go to work, my soon-to-be ex-husband. Let me put a lid on this. Okay, and we're gonna stick this in the oven, like I said, for about 15-20 minutes to start. I'll check it in about 15 minutes, but of course it shouldn't take it that long. But I'm gonna stick it in the oven, and then I will bring you all back in about 20 minutes or so. Okay guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the chicken casserole out of the oven. It should be ready. And I did go ahead and raise the temperature of my oven up to 365. Just because it had some additional liquid in there, and I just wanted to go ahead and bake on off. So let's see here. Okay, it looks really good. I'm going to bring it over so you can see it a little bit more closely as well. And not only does it look good, but it smells good. That it's still bubbling, and so it's the rice will soak up some of that liquid as well, but it smells and looks good. And I normally will serve this with broccoli, corn on the cob, rolls, sometimes the Hawaiian rolls that you buy in the store, but I also make homemade rolls too. And I think I'm gonna probably make a video and show you all how to make homemade rolls. It's really easy, not a big deal, real easy. But yeah, so this is it, and I will see you all later on with another video, and I hope that you enjoy making this chicken and rice casserole for your family or for any event that you may have coming up. And like I said, it is wonderful. It's universally loved, and so I hope to see you all again. Y'all have a good day and make today absolutely fabulous. See you later.